is the new moon in Aquarius. So I'm going to be using this format hopefully so that way you can kind of see what it is that I'm using as inspiration for this star story telling. I guess the audio might not be the best. I could put in headphones. I could also put on makeup. I could do a performance. There's ways to bring more love and pizzazz and graphics to make this more of a production. And I guess sometimes I do try to add in those elements, but going live and just sort of showing up is also not nothing, right? So, what we have going on here is I'm going to be looking at these symbols based off the location of the planets within the tropical zodiacal scheme and telling a story. I don't want you to think that this is like factual or empirical, but if it does provide you some sort of benefit, then I'm totally down to clown. So, speaking of, anyways, I was gonna say, maybe I need to take a substance. For now, we're gonna begin with the sun and the moon right here, right? So, the sun and the moon on new moon cycle. So that energy, 20 degrees of Aquarius, sun and moon coming together on the 9th of February. The sun in Aquarius is not in its favorite space, right? It's the exact opposite of where it's considered in rulership, so it's considered in detriment. So what this says right off the bat is the sort of luminous warmth of the sun, the bright, shining, me doing me, exuding boldly. The sun is such a powerful force, like getting close to it is sort of not even safe, right? It's unapproachable because it's so powerful and strong. So since that force is in detriment, and this time period is associated in tropical astrology with the heart of winter. We're really near the heart of winter, which is essentially 15 degrees of Aquarius. So we're very close to that point. So this is a time of tenacity, of the leaves going bare, the cold setting in. I know that a lot of the people that I've interacted with, either my family or friends, they're subject to some serious cold right now. So I'm in LA, so that's not as serious, but I'm trying to be collective. This heart of winter period, you can see why the sun isn't as happy there, because there isn't as much sunlight. Now it is getting, stronger every day. Winter will end, unless climate change really gets fucked up, and then a different type of thing might transpire. I don't know. It seems like as things warm, ever so subtly, like there's lots of little shifts, because 1% or 2% temperature increases or whatever, they just change things. They make the stable less stable, and there's always these shifts, it's true, but human behavior does seem to be shifting that. And because of Aquarius being such a human sign, we've got the human sign of Gemini, Virgo, and Aquarius. Those are like actual humans. Libra is also the scales. So you start to get a sense of like the animal, reptilian sort of vibe versus the human, social. Aquarius is super social. The sun, I think part of the reason that the sun doesn't care so much to be in Aquarius is because it's going to do its thing kind of regardless. Like the lion is going to do the lion's thing kind of regardless. Human beings are much more... I'm not saying lions don't also have social, communal, connectives kind of energy. They do. You can see videos of people interacting with lions. But it's their species. It's very different than ours. Aquarius is associated with like technology, bringing water to the masses. This service-oriented, and I don't mean service necessarily as servants. I mean like providing a service, serving, like managing certain things. It's a very heady kind of system. So that the sun is there, not happy to be there as much rather be in Leo, which is being in the center, having a lot of time on the stage, very different. This is a more like hidden, behind the scenes, I think, sort of an energy. Aquarius people, they're not afraid to be in the public spotlight within the context of their control paradigm, I think. That's been my experience with Aquarius people. So, what rules over that sun and that moon? The moon, by the way, is much more neutral in Aquarius. I still think it's hard. It's hard to have the moon in Capricorn specifically, or in Scorpio, I think. But when you have the moon in Aquarius, it's not the same as having the moon in Capricorn. It's not, the challenge is not the same, but there is a sort of detached quality, a sort of like it's not, it's when you have, let's go based off the opposite. If the moon is in Leo, there's like a deep need to be the center of the performer, the dramatist, the expressive, the bedazzled kind of an energy, whereas with Aquarius it's more like it's almost distant, dissociated a little bit. Um, the word for Aquarius moon people that I tend to encounter, um, or even a Libra moon, like an airy moon, it's just a little more like taking in the different social cues and sort of responding that way, um, as opposed to sort of being the force that's responded to. It's a very interesting one, and that conjunction, this new cycle, is going to be highlighting, if you're an astrologer, you're to look at this section of your chart. So for me, this is really getting into the sixth house for me. So it's like my health, my work, my routines. It's suggesting a new beginning there, and there's a degree of challenge, there's a degree of struggle, there's a degree of this is not optimal because of the sun being there. This is not going to be an easy thing to do. So I'm trying to think, okay, an initiation of a challenge, a new sort of scientific challenge here, a new beginning of health. What does that look like? The planet in charge of Aquarius is Saturn. So we've got Saturn here. Whoops. I think that's gonna. Yeah, it's pretty much right next to it. The Saturn in 7 degrees of Pisces. So they're not too far away from each other. These planets, they're not like in conjunction or anything, but they're in a similar like region of the picture. So it's in Pisces. It's in a more going with the flow, responding moment to moment based off of the emotional current. It's just when you have Saturn there, it's much less rigid, it's much less restrictive than it might have been if it was in Aquarius. And I'm not necessarily sure that that's a good thing. I think that Saturn, like for instance COVID, we could say that that's not a good thing, right? But how dare we? How dare we assess that that's something that's a controlling force to our species. Like if we call that bad, if we just use our preferences and say, oh, like people dying, that's bad. It's like, well, then why does everyone die? Like Pisces Saturn, it doesn't have that same authority, like the limits and the boundaries and the structures, they still exist, but they're just more slippery. It's like, are you gonna get tested or are you not gonna get tested? Like, it's, take it case by case. It's a little like people, again, I'm not trying to use COVID just as the analogy, but it was absolutely sort of like the Saturn in its own stretch in the most recent time period, so of course I lean on that to sort of help define the story. And now it's like a little looser. Obviously, it's still the case, and people are still going to suffer and die, and yeah, it's Pisces is, I think, of all the signs, it's certainly like not afraid to sort of direct. It's not afraid to direct where it believes and wants to go. It's not. Saturn in Aquarius is more like rigid, like this is the way, this is what we're doing, we have to stick to this. This is the plan, this is the science, this is the one, this is the new. It's very rigid. Whereas in Pisces, it's like, I'm not afraid to change directions, I'm not afraid to slip and slide wherever I need to go. But Saturn isn't by nature like you when you think of rigidity and frozen solid Saturn, it's like now it's in Pisces, it's like sure there's still little pockets of ice floating around, but it's not as the solidity is still there, but it's just a lot more malleable solidity. So it's highlighting, I think, the need for sort of adaptability. What's in charge of Saturn? We have Jupiter here in Taurus. Actually, and it's sextiling, which is nice. So you can see that there is here, that's 7 degrees, Saturn moving down to 7 degrees, Saturn moving down there to that 8 degrees Jupiter, so that really thick blue line there, it's like a flowing exchange of energy there that represents some sort of like, it's not like a flow that's gushing, it's like a steady stream. So instead of like the faucet being on full blast, it's like a nice trickle of energy going between limits. So these really strong, firm boundaries and limits, but that are shifting, mixing with the Jupiter and Taurus, which is like really trying to get the very most comfort, pleasure, good smells, good sensations, like in the most steady, consistent way. So it's like, like a time where that sun and moon goes to Saturn, which goes to Jupiter. It feels like, I don't know how to express this. It feels like there is a sense of abundance present, but the specific way to sort of access it might be a little unclear. Because Aquarius to Pisces, they're so close that sometimes they just sort of step on each other's toes, I think. So it's like there's an overlap there. It's like my sisters and I. Like, I love my sisters and I. We have a lot in common, but we just sort of operate differently. Like, we approach things differently. I'm a much more sort of like sensitive, emotive, expressive, kind of emotional one, whereas Aquarius is more like, this is what it needs to be done, this is how we do it, this is the plan. So it's like, ooh, like they're women, but they have that more like, I don't know, I mean, I have masculine traits too, that like assertive, authoritative, and gender is not a good reflection sometimes, but that is not an easy jump to make. But once you get to the Saturn, if you can find a way for that, like the part of you that like wants to control, wants to have a science, and realizing that you have to keep adapting moment to moment, person to person, place to place, there's a sense of like trying to control and trying to create routine and trying to create structure, but just not being able to like stay in one spot and having to adapt and just like regularly like adapting. But if you can find a way to integrate that air and that water, have a sparkly beverage, get yourself one of those sparkly things, and you know, get rid of the trash, like get rid of the trash, the cans, and just get yourself a little carbonator thing. Maybe that seems like a better for the environment, because then you're not keep wasting. But then the jobs that the manufacturing gives, oh my god, it's just like no matter what you do, it affects something else. That's kind of the frustration, I think, of the Aquarius to the Pisces. It's like everything is connected and it's all fucked. Like, but if you can accept that that is the way it is, not saying that that's easy to do, but if you can do that, let me check and make sure this is still on. If you can do that, yeah, we're good. Then from there, you can realize that your day-to-day routines, your day-to-day choices, what makes you feel comfortable, what's proven to work over time, like long stretches of time, like drinking water that's clean and purified. It's been a time-tested important thing. You know, we really can't fuck around with that one. Like, get down to the most basics. I think that's important. From the Jupiter, we go to Venus in Capricorn. And that Venus is up here, right? So it's at 21 degrees of Capricorn. At the time of this recording, Venus actually just moved into Capricorn. So obviously Venus over the next, cycle from full to new moon is going to be essentially, in a way it's like it's semi-sextiling, I think, where the sun is. So right now Aquarius season has essentially just begun. Venus has just moved into Capricorn. So there's this sort of like there's this loving, connective presence that sort of, I wouldn't say it's like right there, like right accessible, but it does feel like there's this sort of like, there's this hand that wants to connect with you. Like there's this love that wants to connect with you. That's the energy. And again, I'm not trying to introduce a bunch of craving inside of you, but it's like the fact that I'm seeing posts on Facebook that are like, I really just want someone to hold me like all day, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds terrible, but maybe sometimes it would be fun to hold you. You know what I mean? Like there's that. It's like there's a cry I'm hearing from people, like I want to connect with people. I want to connect with people, like. And then I encounter people who say, yeah, let's do it, and then they make plans and then they ghost you, and it's just so frustrating. Like, but there is a sense that there is a desire, there is a love that wants to last in an impermanent universe, of course, but there are people that just want consistently to experience like peace and good vibes. That Venus in Capricorn, I think, it wants durable, it wants to achieve something lasting with it. And it's bowing down to that Saturn in Pisces as well. So we are sort of connecting the loop. So again, Sun and Moon together going to Saturn, going to Jupiter, going to Venus, going back to Saturn. So Saturn is sort of like the point where the loop began. I'm not saying, well, since it's moving, it's Saturn easily moving to Jupiter, easily moving to Venus, which is kind of sweet. The Jupiter to Venus transition is so fast. We were talking about a trickle of water. This is like, again, I don't want to use water as the metaphor because it's not moving from Pisces. It's like Earth to Earth. It's like just incredible amounts of soil. Like, so if you're like, it would be like, I'd like to have a garden. And then you just go outside your door and you're just like, oh my god, there's like tons of soil that's like really dark and rich and has the right amount of nitrogen, and it's just like all you have to do is like put the potato and put the seed of the old stuff out there and it just starts growing up. Like it just feels like there's an abundant force that's really material and nutrient rich that wants to happen because of the Venus and the Jupiter kind of an energy. It's that goes really fast, and then Venus back to Saturn. It's not. I mean, I don't think that flows as strong as the Saturn to Jupiter, because let's see, if you go here, yeah, Saturn to Jupiter, pretty strong. Venus, Venus to Saturn, it's still strong, not as strong perhaps, but at least by element, it is another triple. So Saturn in Pisces is the place where the sun and the moon have to find their way in. So trying to create a sense of stability in instability. It's a pretty tricky phenomena. I'm getting the image of like the Buddhist, or I don't know what tradition of monks do the mandalas. You know, they spend all this time really just carefully making a beautiful piece of art, and then it's on display, and then they just like it's not lasting. And in a way, I think that's reflective of like life. It's reflective of yeah, all of it. Everything is just here for a time, and it's perceivable, and then it's not. And maybe there is some sort of like akashic or divine database that stores like everything from any point in time, and it's all there. And I don't know, I'm thinking about healing through timelines and all the modalities like completion process, or family systems, parts work. I there's so many different kind of things that are popping up right now. Don't necessarily need to go into all those right now, but so what have we done? We've done Sun and Moon to Saturn to Jupiter to Venus, back to Saturn. Mercury is also in Aquarius. I kind of like that placement. Personally, it's compatible with my Mercury in Aries for one thing, but it's also, I just like it. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Because the ruler is in Pisces, perhaps it's not like the greatest Mercury placement ever, but it's not bad. It's not as bad as it's going to be whenever it's in Aries. I don't mean to be so negative, but it's just like with Saturn, it's like do you like to know where you stand with things? Do you like to have the structure? Do you like to have the plan of action, or do you want it to be ever shifting? I think for some people, the Saturn in Pisces is going to be like an easier time, right? And that's valid. But that's the thing about astrology, is even though I do believe it's made up, it affects each person differently. So what's good for someone is bad for someone else. What is a terrible placement for someone could turn into an amazing like challenge, overcoming adversity story. So it's really important for me to like take it all with a grain of salt and a scoop of stars. It's just, yeah. Yeah, okay, so what's happening with Mercury? Mercury is squaring Jupiter. It seems like Jupiter is getting a lot of the lines here. So, and I like things from Jupiter. The square is a little bit, it's just like there's a lot of desire for steady pleasure, for steady grazing, for steady practical, comfortable, delicious, beautiful energy that is sort of I just get a sense that Mercury in Aquarius is perhaps slightly, I'm getting an overwhelmed kind of an energy. like there's an abundance of ideas and ways. So it's yeah, there's a lot of information around how to do it right, like how to live sustainably right, like how to get pleased, how to be comfortable, like how to be healed. Like there's a lot going on there. And I want for the record, just as a bias, I want the right information and the right habits to find the right people. Like I get it that there's diversity. So for instance, there's this, like people who raise animals for slaughter. Like a part of me is like, would you want to be those animals? Like would you enjoy that life? Is that what you would choose? And there's this sort of, in me, this like basic understanding of like, no, I would not. I would not enjoy that. That would not be fun. I don't want to be treated that way. And in fact, I think some people are sort of treated like, just in ways that are just not optimal. So there's a little bit of that feeling right now that's wanting to come through. But Mars in Capricorn, again, it's a good time to sort of keep pushing, because Mars is considered like exalted in Capricorn. It seems to be sextiling Neptune, so this line here, the little blue one between Neptune and Mars, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because Neptune is so dreamy and distant and imaginative, but there is a sense of like, really keep pushing, keep working, keep picking at it, keep climbing, keep pioneering that. I wouldn't say pioneering is the right word actually, because Capricorn is a little more established. Mars is in charge of Aries, so Mars has a pioneeringness to it. It can be used that way. But this is more like you've already chosen. You've got to kind of stick to it. Like it's like, just fucking do it. But there's like anger coming up, even just. It's just not the most fun pressure. Like the universe is not all that fun sometimes. It doesn't feel fun to slay away. It just doesn't. Okay, so Uranus is sextile. No, it's trining Venus. Yeah, it's that like love, connection over time, sudden little jolts of that wanting to sneak in. Pluto is now in Aquarius. It's official. I think it does pop back into. Actually, let me see. Pluto ephemeris. For some reason, I think it is. Okay, so let's look here. Pluto. Tropical Midnight Ephemeris 2020. Wait, what? Okay, yeah, it was in Capricorn. Today is, yeah, we're in January still. So it's still, there's January, March, April, May. Okay, yeah, it is retrograding. June, July, August. Okay, so September we're doing a dip. I don't know if that one's gonna show. So, oh, I have it on the wrong page, but that's okay. We'll go back. Yeah, so it looks like it's gonna be there until September. So again, Pluto moves real slow. It's subatomic. That's how I'm describing it. Or even beyond. It's so. It's like the dark matter of the universe. It's so mysterious, so far. It has to be at the very edge to me of what's possible. Do we believe it? Do we not? Is it there? Is it not? Do we include it in our world or not? Yeah. I guess we'll see. What happens. I want to be kind to my body today because of this. Since I'm a Virgo rising, Aquarius is in that sort of zone. I'm going to pull up my chart just so I can show you guys what I would be doing essentially if it was yours. Sign up. So I didn't Google. Okay. Okay, so let's cast this. Let's cast this new one. I think it should work. How come it's not working? Let's do stop. We'll disconnect, and now we'll do it again. Let's see if it'll cast from this one. I think I need to just get like an Apple TV or something, but this isn't a MacBook, so it might not work as well anyways. It's a little annoying. It's a little annoying. But, okay. So, for me, that new moon is happening at like roughly 20 degrees of Aquarius. So like, let's just say right there. Right there. So it is. It's okay. Let's see if that's 15. It's probably still in the 5th house. It's moving close to the 6th house. It's right around that point, I think, though. So creativity, fun, pleasure, romance, a new cycle begins there, a challenging new cycle, but it's also moving into that work health thing. I tend to try and stick to just one for the story because, like, it's all occult thought fodder. So I guess if you really want to look at both systems, you can. I don't think it matters which one you choose, to be honest. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. My sun is being Neptuned right now. Pretty hardcore. It's been like that for a while, and it feels that way. It feels like my vital force, that like go is being super dissolved, super diffused, super oceaned. Yeah, that's the Pisces sun anyways, but Neptune is just like, I can see why Neptune in Pisces is given the rulership. I can see why. But I still think Jupiter makes more sense because, like, I can see how, like, a Sagittarius person and a Pisces person are both sort of really trying to, like, push for the best, but it just seems like the way that the fish does it as opposed to the centaur, one of them is, like, dreamy, optimist. You can explore that with tons of vitality and mystery and splendor, and then you've got Pisces, which is like, stay the fuck away from that. Like that will poison you. That is not what we do. This is why. Like it's they're loving in a different way. And I like that they're sort of at odds with each other, but still a part of the same team. Whereas if it's Neptune, I mean, I guess I could make an argument for it too. I guess I could, if I wanted to. So in my chart, Neptune is in Capricorn, which is a shit place for it to be. Though it does confuse me. So part of the reason why I think. So if let's just say, okay, if Neptune is in Capricorn and that's not a good place. Why do we want to have Capricorn be a bad place for Neptune? Because the established, like, the what is known to be the thing to succeed over time with the greatest achievements that you can handle are being dissolved, eroded, created, around in an artistic way, like escaped from. I mean, I don't. It's hard for me when it gets to Neptune. It's harder for me to see it ever as like a good thing. But with Pisces, it's like an exacerbation of a quality. I get that. I get that. With Aries, a part of me is like, I don't know. It's like paddling in a vast, vast sea. Is Aries, whereas Pisces is like, we're just floating in it. Aquarius is definitely doing something technological with positioning to try and like maximize the chances of like acquiring the right direction, whereas Capricorn's like, yeah, Capricorn doesn't want to be in that situation. I get it. I get it. You don't want the goal to be unclear. Yeah, it does suck in Capricorn. But maybe the plus side of it in being in Capricorn, I think, and when I was born, like what is the plus side? It's just like, oh, like, yeah, okay, this is what you guys think achievement is. This is what you guys think is success. It's like, fuck that. We're gonna wash all that away. No thanks. And I get that. It disturbs the establishment, but it's probably a good thing. It's probably a good. It can be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. Everything could be a good thing or a bad thing. I want to respect the insights and the potential wisdoms that people can give me from new occult traditions, old occult traditions, seeing that they are just that, and that there may be something a little more true right in front of your face, moment to moment. Don't want to discount the directives or the insights. I don't want to shortchange that. It could be very beneficial. I have enjoyed the consultations that I've received, and the astrology has been fun for me. That's why I keep doing it. Okay, anything else we want to do on this chart? Or have we... We're going to go stop. Cast this one instead. I think... I guess the last thing... Oh, is it not on? I thought it was. How come you're not casting, boo-boo? Okay. I think the last thing I want to say about it is that this clustering of energy is sort of moving toward the established societal norms, going to the daily comfortable routines for the human. I think that this section of the chart it's not so much about exploration and getting to the depth of things, and it's the super self part. Like, it's not. This is the you, right? The you, the most you energy is the Leo and the Cancer. This is a little more us energy. I mean, Aries is very much like, without the Aries, we don't get to the Leo. Like, without that charge and that initiative, like, that never happened. The Leo never happened. So it's like, yeah, it's like, is it fun for me to create this kind of a story? I guess it is. There's something about this practice that I return to because I like it. But when it comes to like fiction writing or going to work at the schools, like, it's not really about me so much, it's about us. but there is a sense of like fatigue and sadness and deflation and anger and resentment. All of that's true. So I'm trying to find out how to navigate being thrust into this world that is so, in my mind, kind of like on all levels, I'm frustrated. On all levels, I'm frustrated. I'm wounded, I'm annoyed, I'm not friendly, but I am a good friend. Like, it's, yeah. If you guys can relate to this, awesome. If you can't, that's okay too. I don't want to beat myself up, but I also don't want to sort of fail life, in a way. I'm gonna blow my nose. Maybe go get a little exercise because I gotta. It's the thing to do. A little dance. Hydration needs to happen. So, love, light, and the snakes bite, y'all. It has been a pleasure. May it be well. Are you sure you want to end the stream? Yes, I am.